Right now, there are towns in Florida where land is so cheap it might as well be free. And yeah, that sounds too good to be true. But stick around because what's about to be revealed could actually change where someone decides to live in 2025. Picture this: owning a piece of land in the Sunshine State without breaking the bank. No massive mortgage, no endless payments, just affordable plots waiting for someone to claim them. The question is, why are these towns practically handing over land? And more importantly, where exactly are these places? Here's the thing most people don't know: small towns across Florida are dealing with something big: shrinking populations and a desperate need for growth. When a town starts losing residents, everything suffers. Schools close, businesses shut down, property values tank. So, local governments came up with a solution that sounds wild but actually makes perfect sense: sell land dirt cheap, or even give it away to attract new residents. Fresh blood means new businesses, more tax revenue, and a community that actually thrives instead of slowly dying. This isn't some sketchy scheme. These are legitimate programs backed by city councils and county governments. The catch? There usually are some conditions. Maybe building a home within a certain time frame, or agreeing to live there for a few years. But compared to what land costs in places like Miami or Tampa, these deals are absolutely insane. So let's get into the actual towns where this is happening right now in 2025. Town number one, Graceville, starting off with Graceville, tucked away in Jackson County in the Florida Panhandle. Population? Around 2,200 people. Graceville sits near the Alabama border, surrounded by farmland and genuine small town charm. The downtown area has that classic southern feel: old brick buildings, a courthouse square, and locals who actually wave when passing by. Here's where it gets interesting: Graceville has been offering residential lots for incredibly low prices, sometimes as little as a few $100s per lot. The town realized they had all this unused land just sitting there while young families were moving to bigger cities. So the local government decided to change the game. Buy a lot, commit to building a home within 18 months, and that land is practically yours. The area isn't fancy. There's no beach nearby, no theme parks. But what Graceville offers is space, quiet, and a cost of living so low it makes people do a double take. Housing is cheap. Property taxes are minimal. And because it's North Florida, the weather is actually different from the rest of the state. Real seasons, cooler winters, and less humidity than South Florida. The surrounding area has lakes for fishing, forests for hunting, and enough farmland that fresh produce comes straight from local growers. For anyone tired of city life or looking to escape expensive real estate markets up north, Graceville represents a legitimate fresh start. Plus, the community is tight knit. Neighbors know neighbors. Kids can actually play outside without constant supervision. It's the kind of place that feels like stepping back in time, but in a good way. Town number two, Quincy. Moving over to Gadsden County, there's Quincy. About 7,000 residents call this place home, making it slightly bigger than Graceville but still maintaining that small town vibe. Quincy sits just northwest of Tallahassee, which means access to a larger city is only about a 30-minute drive away. Here's what makes Quincy unique. Back in the day, this town had serious money. Coca-Cola money, specifically. Local residents invested heavily in Coca-Cola stock when it was dirt cheap, and many became millionaires. That wealth left behind some beautiful historic homes and a downtown district that's actually being revitalized right now. Quincy's land program works a bit differently. The city has identified certain neighborhoods that need development and is offering vacant lots at significantly reduced prices to encourage new construction. Some lots have been listed for under $1,000. The goal is to fill in gaps in existing neighborhoods rather than creating sprawl. The town itself has character. Historic buildings line the main streets. There's an opera house that still hosts performances. Local restaurants serve southern comfort food that's genuinely good, not tourist trap garbage. And because Tallahassee is so close, residents can access bigger city amenities: hospitals, universities, shopping, without actually living in the chaos. Climate-wise, Quincy gets those mild winters that make North Florida appealing. Summer still gets hot, but it's not the oppressive heat that suffocates South Florida for months on end. Trees are everywhere, providing actual shade, and the cost of living remains shockingly low compared to Florida's coastal areas. Town number 3. Perrydown in Taylor County sits Perry, population around 7,000. This town flies under the radar for most people, which is exactly why it's on this list. Perry is located where North Florida starts transitioning into what locals call the Big Bend area. That curve where Florida's peninsula meets the Panhandle. Perry has land available through various programs aimed at boosting residential growth. The city owns numerous vacant lots scattered throughout town, and they're selling them for prices that sound like typos. Some lots have gone for $500 to $1,500, with the requirement being that construction starts within a reasonable time frame. What's the appeal of Perry? Location, actually. It's positioned perfectly between Tallahassee to the west and Gainesville to the east, both about an hour away. The Gulf Coast is 20 minutes south, meaning beach access without beach property prices. The town has everything needed for daily life: grocery stores, schools, medical facilities, but none of the overcrowding that plagues bigger cities. Perry's economy traditionally relied on timber and paper mills, but the town is actively diversifying. New businesses are opening, the downtown area is seeing investment, and because land is cheap, entrepreneurs are finding it easier to start ventures here than in places where rent alone kills profits. The natural environment around Perry deserves mention too. Springs are scattered throughout the region. The Econfina River flows nearby, offering crystal clear water for kayaking and swimming. Wildlife is abundant: deer, turkey, even the occasional bear. For anyone who loves the outdoors, Perry provides access to natural Florida that hasn't been paved over and turned into strip malls. Town number 4. Frostproof heading south into Polk County. There's Frostproof. The name alone is ironic since Florida doesn't really do frost. But the town was supposedly named that to attract settlers back in the day. Population hovers around 3,000, making it genuinely small. Frostproof sits in central Florida's lake region, literally surrounded by lakes. The town is trying to reinvent itself after decades of economic stagnation tied to citrus farming. As Florida's citrus industry struggled with disease and development, towns like Frostproof were left searching for a new identity. Enter the land programs. Local government identified that the town had potential: good location, natural beauty, affordable living, but needed residents to make it viable. So they started offering deals on vacant lots, particularly in areas designated for residential growth. Prices vary, but lots have been available for well under $5,000, sometimes even less. What makes Frostproof interesting is its location between Tampa and Orlando. Someone could theoretically live in Frostproof and commute to either city, though it's a drive. More realistically, it appeals to remote workers, retirees, and anyone who doesn't need to be in a major city daily. The lakes are the real selling point. Frostproof provides access to numerous lakes perfect for fishing, boating, and just being on the water. The landscape is surprisingly hilly for Florida, rolling terrain with citrus groves still dotting the countryside. It's peaceful in a way that busy coastal Florida just isn't anymore. Cost of living is remarkably low. A house that would cost $500,000 in Orlando might go for $150,000 here. Property taxes are manageable, and because the town is small, there's less traffic, less crime, and less of the stress that comes with urban living. Town number 5, Pahokee. Now for something completely different. Pahokee, located on the southeastern shore of Lake Okeechobee in Palm Beach County. Population around 6,000. This town is unique because despite being in Palm Beach County, home to some of Florida's wealthiest areas, Pahokee remains one of the poorest communities in the state. That economic reality is exactly why land is cheap here. Pahokee has been struggling for decades. primarily because the sugar industry that once drove the economy has declined in terms of providing stable, well paying jobs. The town needs investment and new residents desperately. Various programs and initiatives have made land in Pahokee extremely affordable, with some lots available for under $1,000. The town is literally trying to give people reasons to move there and invest in the community. So, what's the upside? Location, actually. Pahokee is less than an hour from West Palm Beach. The Gulf Coast is reachable, and Lake Okeechobee is right there. The second largest freshwater lake entirely within the United States. For fishing enthusiasts, it's paradise. Bass fishing here is legendary. The community is predominantly African American with deep roots in the region. There's genuine culture here, not manufactured tourist culture, but real communities with history. The high school football program is famous for producing NFL players despite the town's small size. Climate is South Florida, hot and humid most of the year, but with those incredible Florida sunsets over the lake. The area is flat, surrounded by agricultural land, and definitely feels rural despite being in Palm Beach County. The challenges are real, though. Pahokee needs infrastructure improvements. Economic opportunities remain limited unless someone creates their own. But for someone willing to invest time and energy into a community with potential, the land prices make it possible to actually own property in South Florida without generational wealth. Town number 6, Carabel. Over on the Gulf Coast in Franklin County sits Carabel. Population roughly 2,700. This is a fishing village through and through. The kind of place where shrimp boats are still working vessels, not decorations for tourists. Carabel has been dealing with the same problem as other small coastal towns. People keep leaving for bigger cities with more job opportunities. But the town has something valuable: waterfront location without the insane prices of places like Destin or Naples. So local government started getting creative with land sales. Vacant lots in Carabel have been offered at prices that make waterfront property actually attainable. Some lots have sold for a few $1,000s, particularly in areas away from the immediate waterfront, but still within the town limits. The goal is simple: get people to build homes, establish residency, and breathe life back into the local economy. The appeal here is obvious for anyone who loves the water. The Gulf of Mexico is right there. Fishing is incredible: redfish, trout, flounder, and offshore species, if someone has a boat capable of making the run. Carabel has a working waterfront with marinas, seafood markets selling fresh catch, and restaurants where the shrimp was literally swimming that morning. The town is quiet, almost too quiet for some people. There's not much nightlife or entertainment, but that's exactly what certain people are looking for. A place to escape the noise, live simply, and wake up to the sound of seabirds instead of traffic. Weather is typical North Florida Gulf Coast. Hot summers, mild winters, and hurricane risk that's real but historically less severe than areas further south. The community is small enough that everyone knows everyone, which can be either appealing or suffocating depending on personality type. Town number 7, Chiefland. Back inland to Levy County, there's Chiefland. Population around 2,200. This town sits in a region known primarily for agriculture and natural springs. Not exactly a tourist hotspot, but that's changing as people discover the area's natural beauty. Chiefland has made efforts to attract new residents by offering affordable land options. The town owns various vacant lots that have been sold at extremely low prices, with some going for under $1,000. The requirement is usually starting construction within a set time frame and actually building a permanent residence, not just buying land to sit on it. What makes Chiefland worth considering? Springs. The area is surrounded by first magnitude springs, places where millions of gallons of crystal clear water pour out of the ground daily. Manatee Springs State Park is nearby. The Suwannee River flows through the region. For anyone who loves swimming, kayaking, or just being in nature, this area delivers. The town itself is basic. There's a main street with essential businesses, a couple grocery stores, gas stations, schools, medical facilities. Nothing fancy, but everything needed for daily life without having to drive an hour for basic necessities. Cost of living is incredibly low. Housing is cheap if buying an existing home, and building new on a cheap lot makes homeownership accessible even for people with modest incomes. Property taxes are manageable, and because it's rural, there's space, actual yards, room to breathe, and privacy that's impossible to find in urban areas. The economy revolves around agriculture, forestry, and increasingly, tourism related to the springs. Remote workers would do fine here. Retirees looking to stretch fixed incomes have been discovering the area. And anyone willing to start a small business finds that startup costs are a fraction of what they'd be in bigger cities. Town number 8, Hastings down in St. Johns County sits Hastings, population around 600. That's right. This is barely a town by most definitions, but it's included because of its unique position and the land opportunities that exist. Hastings is famous for one thing: potatoes. It's literally called the potato capital of Florida, and during harvest season, the tiny town comes alive. But outside of harvest, it's quiet, really quiet. The town and surrounding county have land available at prices that reflect the rural, agricultural nature of the area. Lots have been sold for very low amounts, particularly in areas zoned for residential use that are seeing slow development. Here's what makes Hastings interesting despite its tiny size: location. It's in St. Johns County, which is generally expensive because it includes areas near St. Augustine and Jacksonville. But Hastings sits in the agricultural interior, away from the beaches and tourist areas. That means St. Johns County address without St. Johns County prices. St. Augustine is about 20 minutes away. Jacksonville is maybe 40 minutes. So someone living in Hastings could theoretically access larger city amenities while maintaining a rural lifestyle. The area is flat, agricultural, and honestly pretty plain to look at. But for someone wanting land and space without paying coastal premiums, it works. The community is tiny and centered around farming. There's not much social scene or entertainment. But the cost of entry is so low that it appeals to people willing to trade amenities for affordability and space. Town number 9, Trenton. Up in Gilchrist County, there's Trenton. Population sits around 2,000. This is north central Florida, agricultural, rural, and off most people's radar completely. Trenton has participated in programs to sell vacant lots at reduced prices to encourage residential growth. Some lots have gone for under $1,000, with the standard requirements about building within a certain time frame. The town is small but has the essentials: schools, a post office, basic stores, and medical facilities. Nothing fancy, but functional for daily needs. Gainesville is about 30 minutes away, which provides access to a larger city, university amenities, and better shopping and healthcare options. What's around Trenton? Springs, rivers, and forests. The Santa Fe River flows through the region. Ginnie Springs, one of Florida's most famous spring systems, is nearby. The area attracts divers, kayakers, and people who genuinely enjoy being outdoors. The economy is primarily agricultural: timber, livestock, and farming. It's not a place for someone needing urban job opportunities, but for remote workers, retirees, or anyone with location-independent income, Trenton offers genuine affordability. The community is tight-knit and conservative. This is rural Florida where trucks outnumber cars. People actually know their neighbors, and life moves at a slower pace. For some, that's paradise. For others, it would feel isolating. But the land prices make it accessible for anyone willing to embrace small-town life. Town number 10, Blountstown. Finishing up with Blountstown in Calhoun County. Population around 2,500. This is Florida Panhandle, closer culturally to Georgia and Alabama than to Miami or Orlando. Blountstown has made efforts to attract new residents through affordable land sales. Vacant lots have been available at prices ranging from a few hundred to a few $1,000s, depending on location and size. The town sits along the Apalachicola River, which provides recreational opportunities and natural beauty. The area is heavily forested with genuine wilderness nearby. For hunters, fishermen, and outdoor enthusiasts, the region offers access to public lands and waterways that haven't been overdeveloped. Blountstown itself is a typical small southern town. Courthouse Square, local businesses, churches, and a community that still revolves around high school football on Friday nights. The pace is slow, the cost of living is remarkably low, and the sense of community is real, not manufactured. The climate is North Florida, actual seasons with cooler winters and hot, humid summers. The landscape is more varied than South Florida, with hills, forests, and rivers, creating scenic diversity. Job opportunities are limited unless working remotely or in agriculture, forestry, or local government. But for someone seeking affordable land and a simple lifestyle, Blountstown delivers. The town needs young families and new residents to maintain schools and local businesses, which is exactly why land is so affordable. So those are 10 towns where land is genuinely affordable right now. But before jumping in, there are critical things to understand. First, research zoning and building requirements. Just because land is cheap doesn't mean building on it is simple. Some lots might have restrictions about minimum square footage for homes. Some might require connecting to city water and sewer, which costs money. Others might allow septic and well systems, which is cheaper but requires permits and inspections. Second, understand the building timeline requirements. Most of these programs require starting construction within 12 to 24 months. That's not a suggestion, it's usually a legal requirement tied to the land purchase. Buying a lot and sitting on it indefinitely typically isn't allowed. Third, check for liens, back taxes, or title issues. Some cheap lots are cheap for a reason. There might be complications with the title or outstanding debts attached to the property. Always do a title search before buying or hire a real estate attorney to handle the transaction properly. Fourth, visit in person before buying. Satellite images and online listings don't show everything. That cheap lot might be in a flood zone next to a noisy industrial site or in a neighborhood that's deteriorating. Walking the property and talking to potential neighbors reveals things that paperwork doesn't. Fifth, understand the true costs beyond the land price. Building a home costs money, permits cost money, utilities, if not already available to the lot, cost money to extend. Property taxes, homeowners insurance, and maintenance all add up. The land might be cheap, but the total cost of making it livable needs to be calculated honestly. Sixth, contact local city halls or county offices directly. These land programs often aren't heavily advertised. Calling or visiting in person gets accurate information about what's currently available, what the requirements are, and how to start the process. Local officials usually want these programs to succeed, so they're often helpful with information. Seventh, consider financing carefully. Banks sometimes hesitate to lend for land purchases, especially in rural areas or small towns. Having cash for the land purchase makes things simpler, though construction loans for building a home are generally available once someone owns the land free and clear. Eighth, think long-term about the decision. These small towns offer affordability and space, but they lack many amenities bigger cities provide. Someone moving from an urban area to a town of 2,000 people will experience major lifestyle changes. Making sure that's actually desired, not just romanticized, matters for long-term happiness. These Florida towns represent real opportunities for anyone looking to own land without massive debt. The deals exist because these communities need growth and are willing to make it financially feasible for new residents to put down roots. But here's something that needs to be said clearly. This isn't for everyone. Buying cheap land in a small town sounds amazing until reality sets in. These aren't suburbs with Target and Starbucks on every corner. These are places where the nearest hospital might be 30 minutes away, where entertainment means local high school sports or fishing, where everyone knows everyone's business because there simply aren't enough people for anonymity. For remote workers, these towns suddenly make sense in ways they never did before. If income isn't tied to physical location, why pay urban prices for urban problems? Living in a small Florida town while earning a salary based on big city rates creates a financial advantage that's hard to match elsewhere. For retirees on fixed incomes, the math is equally compelling. Social Security goes a lot further when property taxes are $800 a year instead of $8,000. When housing costs are minimal, when the general cost of living is so low that entertainment becomes fishing instead of expensive hobbies. For young families priced out of traditional housing markets, these programs offer a path to home ownership that otherwise wouldn't exist. Building equity, having a yard, raising kids in safe, quiet environments where schools have small class sizes and communities actually care about children. The downside is job opportunities. Most of these towns don't have robust local economies. Manufacturing jobs are limited. Professional careers basically don't exist locally. Healthcare jobs might be available, but not much else. So, unless someone has remote work, retirement income, or portable skills like contracting or small business ownership, making a living could be challenging. These deals are legitimate, but they require commitment. Building a home, living in the community, following through on requirements. It's not a speculative investment where someone buys cheap land and flips it for profit. These programs exist to create permanent residents, not real estate investors. For someone tired of expensive cities, willing to embrace small town life, and looking for genuine affordability, these 10 Florida towns offer something increasingly rare: a chance to own land without going into crushing debt. The land is cheap. The lifestyle is different, and for the right person, it could be exactly what's needed in 2025.